Hi, volleyball fans, and welcome back to Volley Talk, the podcast created for volleyball lovers who want to dig deep into what is going on in NCAA and international volleyball. I'm your host, Sarah Pavin. I'm an Olympian, beach volleyball world champion, former Nebraska Cornhusker, and longtime pro, both indoor and on the beach.
And I'm Adam Schultz, former indoor player, international volleyball coach, and the show's resident stat guy.
Week 3, men's VNL in the books.
Pool play for everyone is over.
The final 8 has been selected. We are rolling in to the men's and women's final 8. Before we even start the episode, I just need to let you guys know we are not going to be releasing an episode next week because we have a prior engagement that is taking us out of town. We will not be able to record. We are so upset about it, but it is what it is. So do not come looking for any episode next week. We will be back the following week, however, and with a giant episode with men's and women's final 8 breakdown. So just want to get ahead of that. Okay, we're really sorry. But we are excited to discuss all things men's VNL this week. So let's get started. All right, we do not have anything to report in the highlights and happenings. Love did announce their rosters this week. However, we will break them down at a later date. Just wanted to throw it out there. The rosters have been announced.
I got 2 massive comments on YouTube of people who are upset we didn't mention the following things. 1, Morgan Hens is playing in Love.
Why are they upset about that?
Because we didn't talk about it. We talked about it.
Why is that a big deal?
I don't know. So that was mentioned to me. And the other one was that Zé Roberto is coaching at Love.
Okay, to be fair, we talked about this being potential like months ago. Okay, so we definitely did talk about this. We said like it was a long time ago. We were like, yeah, we heard Zé Roberto is probably coaching Love LA. Okay, sorry we missed it. It has been confirmed. That is a big deal. You're not wrong. So that is a thing. Sorry we didn't name Morgan Hens by name. We know she has a lot of fans out there. That's all there is to say. What can we say? So
those are your highlights and happenings.
Those are the highlights and happenings, is us apologizing for you for not talking about those 2 specific things. Even though we were aware of them. We did know that they were happening. Sorry for not mentioning them. And yeah, we'll go in depth into the Love rosters at a later date. Nothing else to report. So let's get into men's VNL. Continuing our listener suggested segment last week of VNL Dream Team. We did the women last week, so obviously we need to do the men this week. As a reminder, they are doing the Dream Team by stats this year, and the winner of each statistical category wins $10,000. Historically, they voted on the Dream Team post final 8. So here we go. Our picks for men's VNL Dream Team. I think I am going to be roasted and ripped apart so badly for my picks.
We will see. Because I have a couple too that may or may not.
To be fair, Adam had access to his own personal stats that he created. I didn't. And then after I made my list, I was like, dang. The numbers I looked at were like global totals. And then I thought about the number of the teams that went 5, like literally every game. And I was like, that definitely skewed the stats. So I'm just getting ahead of this to be like, I'm aware. I don't want to hear about that particular part of it. Okay.
Let's start with setting. Who did you pick?
Fukatsu from Japan.
I picked the same thing. So for those of you who, like, we don't discuss who we've picked. So we're revealing this in real time as well. So we'll see how close they are.
Okay. My reasoning being Japan went 12-0.
Correct.
Do you know how hard that is to do?
Incredibly. And they don't sub. Like, those guys play all the time.
Yeah. Their lineup played all 3 weeks. So that is very hard to do. I think about last year. I know somebody out there will know the specific number. I am making this up off the top of
8-4.
my head. I think they finished what, 6th, 5th?
I know the record was 8-4. I don't remember exactly where they finished in comparison to all the other teams.
To go undefeated, we've talked about this. The difference between last season and this season, I think, setter heavy.
No, I totally agree. They didn't change any of their hitters. The rosters are the same. And quite frankly, not only does the record indicate that, but watching them, the hitters are in such better rhythm. The decision making is good. Everybody is firing on all cylinders. Like, he just makes that team better, period.
Splinter the Rat, baby.
Yeah.
The sage, the wise man.
He's a phenomenal setter, and he by far had the biggest impact on his team that I could see. That was an easy choice for me.
Yeah. Okay, we agree so far. Probably we'll stop there.
Let's go to middles.
All right. I was torn with my own picks. So my first one was Semenyuk from Ukraine.
That's a fair pick.
The reason I picked it is because he put up pretty good blocking numbers and was also among the top serving middles. His efficiency is pretty good. He didn't get set a ton, but his efficiency is very good. So I would say, like, for a middles skills, he was well-rounded.
Okay.
And my second pick, and this is the one that I was like unsure about, and I'm not even sure I want to say it, is Howe from Canada. It hurts me so much to pick somebody who's on the relegated team. And this is the one that I'm speaking of in like going 5 sets all the time. The number of blocks he got was astronomical compared to everybody else. And I understand they went 5, okay, with everybody.
But his blocks per set is actually, I believe, in the top 2 for middles who played a ton of sets.
Okay, I feel better
So
about that.
yeah, so I actually had him on my list as well. Listen,
His hitting efficiency was really good, and he got way more kills than the majority of middles. So,
and he served relatively well too. Like, he's got that float serve that doesn't necessarily generate a ton of aces, but it definitely puts teams in trouble. If Canada hadn't got relegated, you wouldn't feel bad putting him on the list because his performance was he was unstoppable. He's undersized. He blocked well. I mean,
the whole VNL, I was saying that he was Canada's best player. Not that that means much right now, but yeah. I mean, I've said it the whole VNL. He was the bright spot for Canada for me.
Agreed. And I mean, performance-wise, he was at the top. I hummed and hawed over that one just because of how they finished, but I was like, no, you know what? He earned a spot with his play, I thought.
I know people are going to be like, how did you not pick a Polish middle? How did you not pick? Like, Lemanski blocked really well. He put together really good blocking numbers. So I could make an argument for him as well. Give or take, Semenyuk, Lemanski, a good server. He blocked well. His hitting numbers aren't as high. So let's do some slashes. Lemanski, Semenyuk, Howe for me.
Yeah, I was going to go with Lemanski. I thought he played well. Like you said, he's solid for that team. He attacks well. He blocks well. I actually, watching Poland play, they're so disciplined on the block. Like, there's no holes when they run triples, when the middles close. And you may not see that all the time, but it makes it really tough for hitters. So I like that pick. Okay, let's go to opposite.
Who did you pick?
I picked Reggers.
Okay, why?
This was a similar situation to the Howe choice. Belgium's not very good, but he puts up outrageous numbers. Everybody knows where the ball's going. He's their only attacker. He kills the ball at a super high rate. Like, he's not the most efficient, obviously. And granted, he's not the best server and blocker, but just from a pure performance standpoint of getting kills, which is an opposite's job, I felt like I needed to choose him.
I mean, everything you just said about him is exactly why I didn't pick him.
Fair enough.
The only way he scored was attacking. He didn't do anything else.
I don't disagree with you, but his attacking was just so much better than everybody else's from a points per set standpoint. Who did you pick?
I picked Addis Lagumja from Turkiye.
Fair.
Legit near the top of the stats, like in the top few for attacking, blocking, and serving.
He played very well.
The only opposite that's up that high in all the stats. Like, you can't deny those numbers. Not to mention Turkiye's incredible improvement since last VNL. Like, he was a huge part of it. So yeah, I had to pick him.
I knew you were going to pick him because he had more than an attacking skill, and you love a well-rounded opposite who can do more than one thing.
Well, yeah. That opposite's job is to score points attacking, blocking, and serving.
Yeah,
he
fair.
did it.
I like the fact that everybody knew where it was going, and he still found ways to score. I think he's fun to watch, so that's why I picked him. Let's go to left sides.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's one shoe-in, and he's been very good, and he's consistently at the top of every statistical category.
3, 2, 1. Alex Nikolov.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
he was the left side version of Lagumja for me on the right side. He was the top scorer in the whole tournament, top attacker. He's up there for aces. His blocking stats aren't great, but I mean, he's put together great performances.
And he plays. He's always available. He plays club, he goes to championships, he comes to national team. Like, he's always there, he's always playing, and he's always performing. It was impressive to watch him.
Yeah, okay. We agree on one of them.
Who did you pick?
Ran Takahashi. I know I said last week that I'm not as big a Ran fan as everybody else out there, but I could not deny his improvement from last year's VNL to this year's. And again, he was up there in every statistical category except blocking. Like, attacking, he was up there in aces. His reception was among the best in the whole tournament. Like, and his team finished first.
That's fair.
Like, you can't, I don't know. I had to give it to him.
I found the left side decision the hardest. It was like,
found middle the hardest.
Well, I was going to say, you probably never experienced this because you were a very good student, but when you had multiple choice tests in university and all the answers looked good and you weren't sure which one to pick, that's how it felt for me trying to pick left sides.
No, middles for me was by far the toughest, but we do still have one position.
Who did you pick for libero?
I picked the Turkish libero.
Well, you were heavy on Turkey this week.
Bayraktar. Okay, he was the only libero that was in the top, like, few for both defense and reception, which
Fair.
I feel like is 80% of what liberos do, minus setting.
I really liked the libero from Slovenia, Kovacic. I always have trouble with the names. Slovenia as a team keeps rallies alive, and I thought he dug and passed well. He made timely plays. It looks like he really holds that passing rotation down. I liked the way he played, and I thought his numbers were pretty good across the 3 weeks, so that was my choice.
I feel like my picks are pretty obscure. I mean, I had to give a shout out to Japan because they finished first. Poland, like, I only had a slash on the middle.
But they didn't play a lot of their players all 3 weeks, so that to me is a knock on winning an award for Dream Team, even though you know they're good
Didn't
players.
have any Slovenians. They played really well.
Yeah.
Italy was all over the map with their players.
Did you have an American?
I didn't have an American. Like, what? I don't.
My shout out to the Americans would be Haynes, their right side. I thought had a phenomenal
Well,
tournament.
when DeFalco came too, he
Yeah.
played really well.
And I mean, we all know how we both feel about Christensen, but it's so hard.
I feel like people are going to be like up in arms about these picks.
They might be, but it's really hard to
I found this way
pick.
easier with the women.
100%. There's far more parity and different ways to look at players and what they bring to the table and what they're good at. There's so much physicality. Anybody can have a good week and pad your stats, and we didn't get to watch all the games, but I mean, I love when people write their MVPs on the YouTube and I get to read those. So let's hear what you think, because those are our picks.
So week 3, men's VNL complete. The final 8 is set. I will say I'm pretty proud of us. We nailed the top 8 teams. The order, no, not so much. So if you want a refresher, our prediction was Japan, USA, Slovenia, Poland, Italy, Ukraine, Turkey, China. What actually happened was Japan, Poland, Slovenia, Italy, USA, Turkiye, Ukraine, China. So we were pretty close. We kind of flip-flopped Poland, USA.
I expected USA to beat Bulgaria, which didn't happen. That was the one match that I thought they would
I did too.
Would take.
And I honestly thought that the Poland match would be way closer than it was.
Boy, was it not.
Oh, was it not. 3 straight.
Poland decided to bring the big guns and to show up and play well, and they looked real good.
Not to mention, like, half the crowd was Polish because Chicago has a massive Polish population. Not that that's an excuse or anything, but, like, I really thought that was, like, the game that I was most excited to watch this week.
Yeah. It was kind of disappointing.
Other than Canada-Cuba, because we love a pucker match, you know what I mean? Which we can talk about that later. It did not deliver the way that I expected.
No.
So we flip-flopped USA-Poland, and then the rest were decently close.
Yeah.
We nailed this way better than we got the women's.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, which is surprising, because I feel like both of us are much better versed in the women's side of things than men's.
Well, and normally the women's game stays a little more true. You have fewer aberrations to the top teams and results.
What are your thoughts from week 3?
Several. One, very impressed at how consistent Japan was. I think that's...
They found ways, baby.
One of my biggest takeaways.
Honestly, they went 5 a lot, but they found ways to win. Always, obviously. They went 12-0, which is, as we're saying, very difficult to do.
I'm really curious to see how Japan does. Now, I know they beat some of the top teams when they didn't have their full rosters. We'll see what comes with some of those matchups, because they brought their big guns to weeks 1, 2, and 3.
So this is something that was thrown out there on Instagram was, do you think Japan is going to be able to maintain this, or do you think that things will fall apart in the final 8?
I don't think things will fall apart. I think they'll
fall apart, but do you think that they're going to see this through to the end?
I don't love their semifinal matchup for them.
It's a tough one.
I think they'll beat China, obviously. I think they would have fared better against a Turkiye or a Ukraine in terms of how fast they can play.
I mean, they already beat US, though, if US beats Italy.
They did. They definitely have a chance to make the final, but I don't think that semifinal is their best matchup. My other takeaways from week 3 and kind of the VNL as a whole is shocked that both Brazil and France did not make the top 8.
That's tough. Yeah.
For me, I kept waiting for France to find a rhythm. Like, they've had some roster turnover since they were at the top, and you're like, hey, they're going to come, or some of those guys are going to show up. I'm starting to wonder, like, is this France now? I feel like the rule changes have hindered their left sides maybe more than any other team in the world. I'm just not sure they're going to get back to that form quickly, missing the pieces they are with the style they play.
I mean, that's tough. You see France and Brazil, 2 countries that invest heavily in volleyball, men's volleyball in particular. And the expectation for those 2 countries has got to be to make the final 8. I mean, last year, France made the final 8, did not do great. Yeah, I feel like those 2 countries, the expectation is to make the final 8. But then on the reverse of that, we saw the ascension of Turkiye and Ukraine.
Very impressed with how both of those 2 teams played, and consistently. Like, they don't have the deepest rosters.
Turkiye was rough last VNL. They struggled. I think I don't know the numbers. They maybe third. Won 3 games or something.
Yes.
To make the jump that they did is wild. Ukraine too. Last year was their first VNL, and they came squeaked into the top 7 because China got a spot. It's wild.
It was really cool to watch how much better you can get in a year as a program.
Honestly, this whole tournament is just about consistency.
100%. And I think there are very few teams who can do what Poland and Italy did in terms of leaving players home and still being consistent. I mean, look at Bulgaria.
Poland struggled in week 1.
They did.
And what did they win? 1 match in week 1?
they're good enough and deep enough to have that experiment in week 1 and still pull it out when they bring their players back. Impressed with Turkey and Ukraine for sure. Surprised. I would add Bulgaria to the list of being surprised that they didn't make it. And Slovenia just keeps coming and keeps performing.
They're the ones that are like super sneaky good.
Yeah.
But they're, when you think of like powerhouse programs, they aren't the team that like gets thrown out. You know what I mean?
No, never.
When are people like, who are the powerhouses in men's volleyball? People are like, oh, Italy, Poland,
Brazil.
France. Like, but no, Slovenia is like
consistently
low
good.
key sneaky.
Yeah. I'm really excited for the final 8 on the men's side.
I'm excited for the final 8 because like our predictions, which we'll get to in a minute, are going to be so wrong. Like you just never know. You don't know what's going to happen. I do want to talk about, so we had the 2 teams flip-flop that we like, you typically expect to be in the final 8 versus the ones that were maybe more of a surprise or like first timers. There was also a huge battle at the bottom. And coming into this week, Cuba had 0 wins. I picked them to be relegated. I was wrong. Our Canadian team got relegated. So yeah, Cuba came in with 0 wins. Canada had 1, but they had amassed a ton of points because they went 5 so many times. Then you also had like Belgium down there. You had Argentina down there. They were all playing in the same location, which was very exciting. Cuba showed up, baby. Okay.
They brought that swagger to week 3.
It. They were like, we are here to stay for 2027. And then Canada, the complete opposite happened. We're going to talk about Canada's relegation a little later on, but I just wanted to, we're talking about the top 8, but like there was a serious battle happening at the bottom too.
From Canada's standpoint, blowing 2 set leads in the first 2 matches they played against Japan and Argentina and getting blanked by Cuba and Belgium, like just not good. Like you said, we'll get into it, but that was shocking because they were there all VNL.
Like there but not there.
Yes.
Like you're not there if you have 1 win.
7 matches that all went to 5 sets. You could easily envision a world where they're, have 4 or 5 wins, but it just didn't happen. And you have to perform. And to Cuba's credit, they knew what they had to do and they executed.
Okay, so moving into the final 8, let's take a look at the matchups, some predictions. Will we be right? Probably not, but it's worth a try, So we've got Japan playing China. I'm going to take Japan.
I think that one's relatively straightforward. That's probably the easiest prediction of the lot.
Watch them be like, lose. We've got Poland against Ukraine.
I like the way Ukraine is playing, but watching Poland this week with all of their starters back, they're just too good.
Yeah, I'm taking Poland as well. We've got Slovenia versus Turkey.
Turkey is playing really well, but Slovenia, they just win. I feel like it's bad form to bet against Slovenia.
They're just consistent and they wear you down.
And I think being in the top 8 for the first time, you have to learn how to beat it. Like I have to imagine that, for teams like Turkey and Ukraine, they're thinking about, hey, we want to make the top 8. And you hit that goal, and now you're playing against a Slovenian team who...
Like their goal is to win.
Their goal is to win. I don't see it this year. I think they need a little more experience. They need to understand what playing in that environment with those pressures are. I'm edged to Slovenia, but I think it's going to be a close match.
And then we've got Italy, US.
Oh,
I think this is the toughest one for me. I don't know.
Micheletto is out. Do we know what their roster is going to be?
I mean, you have to assume they're going to bring everybody they can. This one's tough. I'm going to take a flyer and say US.
I was going to say the same thing. I don't love Italy's right side.
Rishalichki?
No.
I love Romanov, though.
And that's the thing. I have no feel for who Italy's going to play.
They flip-flopped those 2 all last season, like even until the bitter end where somebody messed up the lineup. Never forget.
And
I don't know, but Italy, like they find ways. They're young. Their young guys are playing well.
If you would have asked me 2 days ago before the US played Bulgaria and Poland, I would have said USA for sure. I thought they were playing really, really well. But they did not end well. Honestly, this is going to be a 50-50, like toss a coin.
Well, you have to pick one. I'm picking US.
I'll pick the US just because I like the way they played all VNL.
Okay, so based on our predictions, we've got Japan versus USA. Do you think the US will get beat by Japan twice in the same tournament?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I think that USA's weakest position with the addition of their right sides into Falco is in the middle. And
I think their middles are legit. Well, Jendrik is really good. I think the connection between Christensen and McHenry has gotten better.
I'm not talking about from an attacking standpoint. I agree with you. I think blocking wise, McHenry is a bit of a liability.
Really?
I think, speed wise, when he gets there, he's very good. I don't think he closes particularly quickly yet. I think they're going to struggle with the speed. You think I'm wrong?
McHenry's as fast twitch as you get.
I know, but I don't love his reads. Like, I don't think he gets used a bunch.
He's going too high because he just skies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his positioning on the block when it's that quick, I think they're going to be holes. And I don't know that with the speed they're running that they're going to be able to control them.
He's saying this with a half smile on his face because he knows that he could be bitterly incorrect.
He's 100%.
Like, I'm going to keep saying this and I'm sticking to my point, but deep down I'm like, dang, I might be
I mean, I could definitely eat these words, but I think Japan is playing really well. I like the offense they're running. I think everybody is feeling it right now. I think they could beat the US.
Even if what you're saying about McHenry is true, which I don't agree with you, you've got to, if the guy can follow a game plan, they will be prepared.
It's a gut feeling that the middles are going to struggle against Japan.
I want Japan to see this through. I really do. But the US is studying every single touch from that match they lost to Japan. I bet.
And you don't think that Japan is doing the same thing?
I mean, I got to go with the US. I want Japan to do it, but I don't think they're going to see this through.
So what do you think the difference is going to be? Like when you look at that matchup.
Here's the thing. It's just a second ago, you were like, I was like, is Japan going to see this through? You're like, no, I don't think so. I think their semifinal matchup is too tough. And now we're here and you're like, they're going to win.
The Italy-US game is a pick'em. The Japan against those teams. I said, I think that's the worst matchup for them.
Okay. So you're taking Japan. I'll take the US.
Okay.
Okay. And then Poland, Italy. And then Poland, Slovenia.
Poland.
I'm taking Poland too.
They're too good right now.
The final, we both have Poland against, you have against Japan. I have against US. I'm taking Poland.
I think Poland's going to win again. I just think they're too good. The thing about Poland is they're too deep. If somebody is struggling.
And we have a serious obsession with Semeniuk. That third left side coming off the bench. Can it get any better? No. What? Not in my mind.
And the thing about how Grbic runs that team is he doesn't care. If you're not performing, he doesn't hesitate to take you off the floor.
He doesn't care, and he can because he's like, I was literally the best, so I don't care what you think.
I mean, pretty much. So they have the depth, and he's not afraid to make subs if people aren't performing. I think they're the best team right now.
All right. We just differ in our finalists. We'll see who's right. Probably neither of us.
Italy's going to win, and the US isn't going to be an
Ukraine's going to
win.
Turkey is going to win. Just mess it all up. Let's see what happens.
This is the fun part, though. You throw your predictions out before anything.
We love a speculation. We love a prediction. We're batting maybe 50%. Negative. But you know what? We tried our best. So let us know your thoughts. We got some homers out there. Okay. People accuse us of being homers. I think that we are anti-homers. I am much more harsh.
I think a lot of people think we're American.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, even if we were American, anti-homers.
Yeah.
Think about it. But no, we are Canadian. But I think we are the most harsh on the US and Canada.
True. And they are also the teams we watch the most, so that also tracks.
So we legit have homers out there who are going to pick their country to the end. We might call you out in the comments. It's fine. Get ready for it. But let us know your thoughts anyway. Okay. So as we said, we're going to talk about Canada's relegation. So let's do it. We got so many questions, comments, reach outs, emails, like you name it, about Canada being relegated. We could not stop talking about it from Friday night on, as we were just
floored,
embarrassed, just like so disappointed. So let's talk about this. Where do you want to begin?
Let's begin with a few stats and then we can go in.
Okay. And I also had, I've thrown in a couple questions that we can kind of like talk about as it pertains to them as well.
Okay. So before we go any further, I think it's important to understand the team and maybe what the expectations were. Because we saw a couple young players featured in some of the weeks, but the reality of it is this team is not young and they're not inexperienced. They had 7 members on the wide roster who played in the Paris Olympics and who were available for them to play. So their setter.
Yeah.
Hofer, who we didn't really see.
He was a serving sub when he started last year's VNL.
Yeah, so I was a little confused about that. Katrisky was also at the Olympics. The other right side, Schwartz, was also at the Olympics. And Eric Lepke, like, where was he? He was a great left side for them. Mar Demienko didn't play after week 1. Like, they have experienced players who should have been able to win matches. So I'm not buying the young, inexperienced that I've heard from a bunch of different people. That's just it's not true.
Yeah, I'm kind of scratching my head on this. I'm scratching my head on lineup decisions, on substitution decisions. Like what? We kind of had the shout out answer for this. Like somebody help us out a couple weeks ago of like, where did Mar and Demienko go? And Lepke, where did they go? And somebody was like, oh, I think they went to Gord Perrin's wedding for 3 weeks. So I'm just like, why did you show up in Ottawa and then just like disappear for the rest? Were you injured? I didn't see any reports about an injury. Like nobody had any answers. Where did you go?
And there's
Curry was injured.
Curry was, yes.
The libero. So okay, fair, obviously.
No matter how you look at this from my perspective, it's wrong. If Mar and Demienko and Lepke didn't want to travel outside of Canada for whatever reason, like if it was their choice to not play weeks 2 and 3,
shouldn't be playing week 1 either.
For me as a coaching staff, it's like if you're not all in, you're not part of the team. That to me is a very easy decision. If that wasn't the play and the coaching staff only brought them to week 1 and then wanted to give other players an opportunity.
Fireable offense.
Fireable offense. You can't get relegated and not play your best players. Like, it makes no sense. So either way, those lineup decisions specifically around those players for me is a massive miss.
But even week 1, I'm like, okay, Hofer started all VNL last year. Mar coming in, okay, yep, fair. You're benched. Got it. Makes sense. But what did you do to not play the next 2 weeks? Because he wasn't bad last year.
No.
He did a pretty decent job. But
are you telling me that Vargas and Young are better than him? I'm not sure.
Unless they
that.
improved a lot. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. What's the story here? Where did Show go after week 2?
Yeah, no week 3. I don't know. That one for me is less critical than Demienko and Mar.
But I'm just saying, like, you have the players on the wide roster. Okay, we can use the U.S. women as an example. They have some players that people have been like, why aren't they bringing these players along? Well, you know what? It's fine because they finished first in the ranking. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing as like Canada. You literally got relegated and people are like, well, where are these players? Like completely different situations.
That part to me is mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
Before we get into some of the other things, here are some of the numbers about this VNL performance. They went to 5 sets 7 times. That's an absurd number of times.
How many did they win?
7. None.
Exactly.
But they got reverse swept 3 times, including twice in week 3 where they needed a win to not be relegated.
Okay, so we had a lot of questions about them going 5.
Okay, can I give you one other stat?
Yes.
They played 21 sets that were decided by 2 points. They lost 13 of them and won 8 of them but obviously never won
The
any
fifth
of the
set.
ones to close out. There were just some wild numbers around that.
Somebody was like, how is it possible to lose so many 5-setters? Is there a place in the game where things seem to change from a coaching perspective? What needs to change? Does Dan Lewis keep his job after this? And it kind of, another one that kind of was similar was talking about the Japan-Canada game, how they went 5 as well. And they're like, man, Japan goes 5 with everybody, but they're always winning in 5. Canada's going 5 with everybody and they're losing in 5. So how would you approach these situations as a coach and a player? So those are the kind of like 5-set discussions. Honestly, you see it happen because like the number of reverse sweeps is like, I know it's not like a huge number, but you kind of see it. It's very obvious to me that Canada's coaching staff they can put together a solid game plan, because very often in these matches that they've gone 5, they've won the first set. They've won the first and second set, which that tells me you've got a solid game plan and you are prepared. The fact that you're losing in 5 all the time tells me that you are incapable of identifying what a team is doing to you, and you are incapable of making real-time adjustments. That you have to watch film to be able to figure out what the heck is going on, and you cannot watch a game in real time and figure out what is happening. That is what the 5-set discussion tells me for Canada. For Japan, they on paper they're smaller, they run a different style of play, so they kind of take time to work into a match to see what a team is doing. And the fact that they're able to usually come back and win in 5 tells me that their coaching staff and them as players are able to make adjustments to maximize their maybe deficiencies that teams are trying to exploit early on.
I agree with everything that you're saying.
But
no buts. It's a very hard skill to be able to analyze what's happening in real time, compare that to the game plan, and then understand your strengths and weaknesses and change that. Not everybody on a coaching staff can always do that, but you need at least one.
Not everybody can do that, but I think as a complete coaching staff unit, everybody as a whole, people need to be contributing different things to be able to make it happen.
Agreed. And that was my point. I don't see that. Like, you watched week 1, Demyanenko was unstoppable in the middle until the 5th set, and then it was slow down, block, 5th set's over. Teams are collecting information that, like you said, they're making adjustments, and Canada's not adjusting back. If you listen to Dan Lewis's feedback, and it's not, again, these statements are not blanket statements, they're very specific at the beginning of the matches, and then later on when things aren't going well, no, it's like, hey, look for the hands, high off the hands, and the feedback gets less specific. But I also think part of that is watching Dan get so emotionally invested in the match. It's very hard to think analytically when you're tugging on the ref's leg sleeve to get attention and make a call, and like you're so anxious about what's going on. Like, that doesn't work. That anxiety leaches onto the court. I think it's both a mental component from the coaching staff and an adjustment component from the coaching staff that is hindering those 5th set performances.
It was so hard to watch. And just like almost cringy, like tugging on the ref's pants to like get a call or beg for a call, or like as a coach talking through the net to the opposing players. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Stop it.
But it's detrimental.
Yes.
And so
clearly they weren't able to like figure out what's actually going on because he's too busy begging for calls or fighting with players all the time.
Those would be some of the things that I saw from a coaching standpoint.
Is this a fireable offense?
Getting relegated as Canada with this roster, in my opinion, is. But I don't know if they will. He's a homegrown coach. I'm not sure who else takes over that program. They're in potentially transition with a lot of young guys coming up. Like, I don't think he'll be fired, but this is a massive blow to Canadian volleyball, men's volleyball.
Massive, because it's hard. I think it's going to be very hard to get back in.
I don't think they'll be back in before the Olympics. You're missing all of these quality training and experiences for players like Varga who are going to now fall further and further behind because you don't get to play.
And just be able to play continental stuff. Like, it's not the same.
There's massive repercussions to this.
Well, somebody also was like, they were talking about the Japan game, but in general, it's like, why is Canada losing when they're up 2-0? Are the players getting tired? Is the coaching staff making bad substitutions?
Well, there's one other trend that I've seen with them. They often generate leads and then disappear for stretches and give up runs of points. So obviously they're generating runs of points if they're building leads, but when they give up points, it kind of to me seems like you're checked out. There's 3 or 4 errors in a row or a couple bad decisions in a row. Like, it just seems that they're streaky as a team, but their mistakes compound with each other. You know, sets where they've been winning 13-8 end up 25-23. And that can't happen. Like, if you can build off that momentum, you don't find yourself losing 5th sets because you've taken care of business.
Let's talk about this Cuba match.
Oy.
Basically, if Canada beats Cuba, they are in. So Cuba came into the match with 2 wins, but not very many points. Canada came in with 1 win and just so many points because they kept gathering points by losing in 5. So if Canada wins this match, they are pretty much safe because Cuba played Italy the next day. They weren't going to win. I mean, the percentage chance that Cuba is going to beat Italy was very small. It's a must win for both teams. And Cuba comes out and wins 3-0. 3-0. You kidding me right now? That is what you put on the floor when your VNL future is on the line. You get blanked.
Well, you can look at it the other way. Cuba was horrendous this VNL.
We do have to, okay, yes. Cuba, give Cuba credit. They struggled. Okay. They lost 8 in a row. They came into week 3 winless, and they knew that they needed to get these wins. They won their first 3 matches. They got it done. Okay. Canada comes into VNL week 3. They're like, we need 1 win. And they're like, no, don't want it. Cuba back against the wall. They showed up when they had to and figured it out. Canada was the complete opposite.
Can you imagine, like, if the situation around the Cuban team was normal, how good they would be? Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
This like a command performance every time. It's like every match you're playing to stay in VNL, and they'd be like, VNL champions. But anyway, the number of balls that I saw their left sides hit into the sharp angle, almost every single swing. Literally almost every single swing. And not only did the block not even get close on any of them, neither did the defense.
But again, I listened to feedback about this later in the match, and you heard, or it might have been the post-game interview, well, they hit over us, and then they hit.
It was a set 2.
It was a set 2. So in between sets 2 and 3, Dan Lewis said something to the effect of, well, they're hitting over us, and then they're hitting around us, and then they're doing, this, that, or the other thing. Kind of like we don't know what to do.
When they're not hitting over us, they're hitting around us, and when they're not hitting around us, they're hitting over us. It's like, what?
It's like, no, that's
what they're supposed to do. They're trying to score.
And granted, if you're getting hit over, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. Maybe a sub and a taller player, but you have to defend the balls around. You have to get slowdowns. You have to play. Like, there are things that you can do.
Let's force them to hit line. Leave a truckload of line.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens here. I do not want to see them score into the sharp angle one more time, okay?
I heard that in between sets 2 and 3, and I was like, this is over. They don't know.
Well,
they don't know what to do.
3, the body language on the court, I was like, I almost turned it off. I was like, you guys are rolling over and dying. The body language was terrible. I'm like, this is how you're responding to this adversity right now? Very disappointed. As a Canadian, too, I'm extra disappointed in that outing and how they the fight just seemed to disappear.
There weren't any Canadian players who made plays down the stretch when they needed to. Like, if you lose 7 matches in 5, you just needed somebody to step up twice, once more. And it didn't happen. There needs to be a shift in mentality, in approach, in, they talk about scoring after 20. How are you going to fix that?
Yeah.
What's the plan? Is it set distribution? Is it set location? Is it swing choice? Is it not being aggressive? Like, there's all kinds of things, and you should have been able to make those adjustments between weeks 1, 2, and 3.
Who knows how long it'll take for us to see Canada back in the VNL? We know it won't be in 2027. I wonder how this will affect their Olympic prospects. I wonder, because if any year is going to be a year where Canada's like feeling great about making the Olympics, it's when the US is off the table. Like,
can you imagine when it comes to the continental qualifier and Canada has to play Cuba
to make it
in? Like, that,
who's going to show up?
That VNL match was not just about staying in VNL.
Cuba sent a message.
100%.
Who knows what this is going to do to volleyball, the men's team. All I can say is how the tables have turned on volleyball in Canada, everybody. The women were getting no love for the longest time, and the men were getting all the funding. They were getting everything. And now look what happened. Honestly, I'm proud of the women, but guys, it is time for listener questions. Our listeners have been showing up, okay, with the questions on Instagram, by email, on YouTube, like you name it. You guys are submitting a ton of questions, first of all, and you're very curious. I can't even tell you how many we have in reserve. I try to select these questions to keep them relevant for the most part to what we're talking about, but it is very hard to make these selections. So anyway, here we go. I picked a whole bunch today. Question 1. What happened to the U.S. middle blocker Butler? She was playing so well last year. Not only did she not make it to the roster this year, neither Sarah nor Adam had her in mind when picking the LA roster. Can someone fill me in? If you're talking about the LA roster that we talked about last women's episode, the challenge was to only pick one person per college. And Breon Butler went to Texas. And as we know, there are lots of Texas athletes playing for the national team. And we ended up picking Ogbagu as our Texas athlete. So that's what happened there. As for part 2, I heard a rumor. It is not substantiated, so I don't know if it's fact or not. But basically, I heard that she did not like Eric Sullivan and they did not see eye to eye. And so she was not invited back because of that relationship dynamic. Again, not confirmed. That is just something I heard.
And that happens, right? Coaches have a style. Coaches have things they're looking for. It just doesn't always work. That's the way it goes. One other question for you in regards to this. Do you think she's better than Ogbagu or Redke?
No.
Do you think she's the third middle? Better than O'Neill? Better than Ajid?
No.
She's good, but even without the relationship dynamic, I still think she's lower in the depth chart.
Okay, tied to this question 2, what happened to Maddie Skinner? So I have a theory on this.
Hit me.
Okay, first of all, I haven't heard anything about her being injured or anything. She is on the VNL wide roster, but has not traveled at all during VNL. So maybe she's injured, no clue. But my theory is, when you watch her play, so many of her points come from the throws or the like power tips and just like kind of manipulating the ball in a way that has become illegal in VNL this year. So I'm wondering if maybe they were like, until you can figure out how to score effectively, either by attacking or tipping traditionally, we can't bring you because we can't use you.
It's a good theory. I agree. And I think with the fast offense, like with Jordan Poulter, she does that a lot specifically.
Like, think of how
100%.
many balls, like we saw it at Texas, we see it in Love, like how many balls Maddie Skinner scores by, jumping and like power throwing the ball down, or like manhandling the ball, for lack of a better term, which just isn't going to fly in VNL anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, she was already on the outside looking in from an opposite perspective. Then you take away arguably her best weapon. And yeah, she's got some reinventing of her game she needs to do. And it probably hasn't happened yet.
So that's my theory.
I think it's a good theory.
That's where I'm at. Okay, question 3. While commentators have no effect on the volleyball itself, they do influence the volleyball viewer's experience. Can you guys speak to how commentators are chosen, selected for events such as VNL? And then this person went on to say, there's one commentator, Clayton Lucas, that's always laughing as his commentary, and I'm not a fan of his perspective on the game sometimes. And then she said, Sarah mentioned she didn't watch USA versus Brazil, but it was either that match or the one before we kept mistaking Jordan Thompson for Haley Washington, who isn't even on the roster. I mean, did end up going back and watching USA Brazil, and I noticed the same thing. So it's so funny that you bring this up.
That is just being unprepared.
No, here's okay. This is an observation I have made. This is another one of like Sarah's theories. But I have noticed this a lot with commentators, particularly white commentators. The number of times I have seen black athletes be confused between each other when a white commentator is announcing a game is insane. Again, it has nothing to do, I don't think it has anything to do with racism or anything like that, but I think it is. Somebody who has like a sociology degree or something confirm this for me, but I'm pretty sure we view our own race more distinctly than others. And so I have noticed this across the board in commentating, and it drives me crazy. So he is not the first. He does joke around a lot, which he's funny. Like some of the things he does are funny, but I'm pretty sure for VNL, if you show interest and can like prove that you've done this before. I don't know what the procedure is, but because the schedule is so grueling and you're traveling overseas and you have to be gone for literally like 6 to 8 weeks out of your summer, I think it's probably very difficult for them to find a cast of commentators that are willing to do it for the duration of VNL. So I think as long as you're like knowledgeable about the game and show interest, I think that they have considered a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'll say this, right? Your best talent goes where there's the most money, and there's not the most money in volleyball. There's not a pool of people who have been doing this professionally for a long time to draw from. If you look at NFL, NBA, like there's just more people who are doing it because it's worth your time more. And not say that they're not doing a good job, but I think that also plays a part in the quality of the broadcast as a whole, not just the commentators.
And trust me, watching VNL, I have certain commentators that I like way better than
100%.
Others. Some I do not enjoy at all, and there's a couple that I really do like. But think about it. These people are being asked to give up almost their entire summer to go overseas, sit in a gym for all day for like 5 days straight. It's not easy.
And talking volleyball for like 4 matches in a row.
Like, yeah. So I have a lot of respect for what they're doing.
It's hard.
But yeah, it's probably not the most sought after opportunity if you're comparing it to like doing the professional leagues or things like that, where you're able to just travel domestically in the winter or something. Okay, question 4. While there are so many heavy hitters and big swings, it seems like blockers tend to leave the line open. Is this easier to defend, which is why it's left to the defenders? But if it's easier to defend, why are there so many kills in this area? Are there stats on areas of the court that get the most kills?
There's a lot to unpack in this question. I'm going to give a couple kind of high-level theories of why people do this. First, offenses are so fast, it's often very difficult for pin blockers to help with the middle and the pipe and then get outside and seal the line. There's just not enough time. So unless you're willing to sacrifice helping in the middle to get out to the pin and take away the line. You just can't cover it all with a block. For me, the second piece is if you're forcing a hitter to hit down the line, there's the possibility that they miss the court and have an error versus swinging into the middle of the court where you're not going to miss, right? Like you're either going to hit a defender, or it's not going to be an error. You're forcing that player to kind of thread a line, maybe hit the antenna, maybe hit out of bounds, and then you're hoping that your defender can dig that ball. Digging down the line is tough. It's a tough skill when there's no block in front of you, but it's usually the higher percentage play rather than leaving the middle of the court open for a hitter to hit a seam or no block that way. There are some very good line hitters. That is not an absolute rule, but I think that is probably the thought process a lot of the time.
I've noticed it a lot with right side attackers, especially in the women's side lately. Like a lot of blocks are leaving the line open for right side attackers. And my theory on that is because the libero is usually digging down the line, which if you have the option between having them hit to your right side in the angle or like your libero, I think you want to play the percentages that your libero will get a better dig. But it's also, I think we're seeing the outside hitters are having a hard time setting a consistent block on the outside because we're not seeing the hits always come straight down the line. We're seeing them come into the line seam at times, which is hard to dig for a line defender. If you are leaving line, it is a very narrow bridge you're walking of like where to line up, because the difference between digging straight down the line and having a slight angle available is huge. Okay, question 5. This is for the women. The Italian starters came back for week 3 and they were brought to 5 sets by both China and Canada. They also went 5 in the World Championship semifinal against Brazil and in the final against Turkiye. They have a very simple game. They don't vary their attack. They run middle in front of the setter. They run the opposite and position 4. They don't run combos like the Piper slide. Running this system, they looked unbeatable for a long time, but I've noticed that they've become less effective in recent games. Is their type of game now becoming too predictable and other teams have started to figure it out? Do they need to vary their attack? It strikes me that their game effectively relies on perfect execution, and when that's lacking, they appear vulnerable.
I mean, that statement stands for a lot of teams. Like if you don't execute, you're vulnerable. That being said, they run the middles in front because their opposites are so good. Like you want to create a spread and a seam for Antropova and for Aganu. It makes sense that you're going to do that. We talked about this in the last podcast. I do think they need to add a pipe ball into their offense because their left sides are not quite as terminal as they have been in the past. And so 100%, I think they're going to need to add a little something to help the left sides get a little more one-on-one, 1.5, see a few less blocks. They do what they do because their personnel allows them to run that system effectively. And I don't think going to 5 means that you're doing something wrong. You're playing good teams. You're going to have battles. It's can you come out on top? And they generally do.
But I do agree with the statement that they don't look as unbeatable as they did in the last couple of years.
100%. But you have to remember, they also played together for the first time in the 3rd week. Like all of them had a break in weeks 1 and 2. Like it takes a little bit of time to find your rhythm, I think. Let's wait and see how they look at European championships before we go. Or
Final 8 even.
Yeah. Before we say that Italy's over.
I think this is a good question though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, question 6. As a VNL viewer since 2023, I have always been curious regarding relegation, specifically how only one team is relegated per year. Do you guys deem this to be fair, or do you think it would be more beneficial or exciting for a higher turnover each VNL?
I think 2 teams should be relegated. I think there's so many teams who are on the cusp of being able to come in and out. Like, it's a long haul to get back in, and with only one team coming in and out, I think games would mean more and you would see a little more, everybody fights, but a little more drama at the bottom if you had 2 teams coming out. So I would be a huge proponent of a 2-team turnover.
I definitely think it would be more exciting. Whenever there's more at stake, things are always more exciting. I just think, particularly in the women's side, once you get past like the top 10 teams, the level for me kind of drops.
But I think this helps with that. Like if you have a couple nations who are up and coming, this VNL experience is so important for young players, for teams who haven't done that, to understand what the level is. Like to be able to move two of those cusp teams up to get a chance, even for a year, so they understand. Like I think that helps the overall level as well.
I wonder if money has anything to do with it. Like you often see sometimes the bottom teams are the ones who are like
hosting.
Their federation president is involved in the continental side. You know what I mean? There's just like so many politics and things going on. So I wonder if that's part of the reason why they don't do it. But I do think it would be way more exciting. But it is also like such a huge investment to do VNL. So like once you make it, like having the opportunity to try to like figure it out is also useful. I don't know.
Pros and cons to both, but I'm definitely a fan of, I would be a fan of the 2-team relegation.
We agree that it would be way more exciting. Question 7. The serving of the U.S. men's national team middles seems to be a real weakness for them. With how high Jendrick and McHenry get off the ground, why can't they just work on elevating as high as possible and hammering hard, aggressive flat balls that go down toward the mid-torso of the passers? If they serve their normal powder puff floats, the other team sides out 90% of the time anyway. You're not wrong.
2 things. One, I guarantee you they are working on that serve. They just haven't figured it out yet. It's not consistent. And the other thing to think about is who are your green light servers and who do you need to just get it in? And so, those 2, even their most aggressive float serve may not cause as much serving trouble as DeFalco or Haynes or Anderson, right? Like you have really good servers on the team. I think as a team, the U.S. has actually served really, really well this VNL.
Are you just thinking of TJ DeFalco though? Because he's good for like 27 aces every match.
No, do you not think that Haynes served pretty well? I think
they're serving pretty well. The question is pertaining to the middle. Do you think, like, I agree. If you're going to serve a free ball over, what are we doing here?
Well, I guess my point was, in isolation, their serves are not very good. Agreed. But there may be a bigger team context as to why they have the mandate of make sure you get your serve in.
Fair. But like, I just wonder, they're not like necessarily placing the ball in a precise way either. Sometimes people get the yip serving too.
Don't get me wrong.
I struggle serving, so I'm just going to get it in and like that's a win for me. I don't know.
On the surface, their serve is not difficult. 100% agree with that. I'm just saying there may be other reasons other than they can't do it as to where that's coming from.
But they are generating a ton of points from elsewhere, so I do understand what you're saying and I can get behind that. Like maybe they could work on developing like a hybrid serve. But yeah, can you imagine if McHenry just like yosses the ball up there and it's just like vroom?
I will guarantee you that he is spending time one-on-one working on those things, but it just might not be there yet.
Okay, question 8. How is the U.S. women's team on top of the standings in VNL despite having 0 players amongst the best in statistical categories? I know the U.S. uses a lot of their players and rests players, but is there another reason for this? Is it because they run a balanced offense? So my instinct reading this question was thinking of how often they're just like switching up their lineup, which it makes it really hard when you think of the teams that are out there and how some teams are not deep at all and they need to play the same roster every time. That automatically gives those players just a huge advantage in the statistical department, which this person addressed. But
yeah, I mean, I think the Belgium right side on the men's side has like 224 points in the men's.
And they're like third last.
Yeah, that is definitely part of it. But I think the other thing too is the U.S. doesn't have a star. They don't have a Vargas. And so they have to rely on moving the ball around, having everybody involved in the offense. And quite frankly, that's been their identity for a really long time. They've moved the ball around. They run the pipe.
Well, I mean, they have
outside.
had like top blockers. Like Agbagu was top blocker in
100%.
Paris. They've had tops. Like in the past, they have had people at the top.
But not not a cannon on the outside who you're just going to feed balls to. I think you see this a lot when you have balanced teams. You don't necessarily have a standout statistically. You're just not that opportunity.
I'd be curious what the stats would look like if they had stuck with a similar roster for 3 weeks.
I still don't think they would be high.
Really?
No. I don't think they would be leading in any of the categories other than efficiency categories.
I think somebody would be up there in blocks.
In blocks, maybe. I guess I'm thinking attacking and killings. I don't think
killings.
For this, I'm thinking attack and kills, and I don't think that would be the case. Because I don't think anybody gets enough sets.
Okay, question 9. At the international level, I've noticed that the captain of a team can change around amongst a handful of veteran and up-and-coming players. Aside from the coin toss, what does a captain do at this level, and is it very consequential for a team's performance, stability, etc.? Typically, what's supposed to happen is the captain is the only person that should be able to talk to the referees.
Unless you're Canadian.
I knew that was coming. So that's really, the coin toss. They are the only people they're supposed to be the go-between between their teammates, between the coaching staff and the referees. Aside from that, it's like you're the person who has to go do the press conferences and do this and that, like off-court stuff. But on the court, it's...
Your leadership group is your leadership group, generally, regardless of who is the captain. Yeah, like you said, performance-wise, I don't really think it makes much of a difference.
Okay, last question of the day. If you're a young up-and-coming athlete, like if you're an Isabel Hawk type talent, okay, from a smaller Asian nation like Vietnam, Taiwan, Philippines, that has traditionally done well in Asian continent events, but that's it, would you recommend them to try to go through the NCAA system? Would it give them the training and exposure they would need to have a chance of playing at a higher professional level?
Oof, that's a very specific question.
Well, so this all stemmed from the fact that the Taiwanese libero signed for MLV NorCal, which they were all excited about when they were posting about it, but I'm like, who is this player? So that is where this thought process kind of came from, is that these players, while A, famous in their own countries, B, they do well in the Asian continent events, nobody from around the world other than the people who play in those continental tournaments know anything about them.
Do you think playing NCAA or professional in North America changes that from a worldview?
Okay, well, I think a lot of agents and stuff now are tied and are keeping a close eye on NCAA volleyball, which could then lead to them being picked up from an agency perspective.
If you can come play in one of the top 4 conferences in NCAA, maybe you get a little more visibility. I think the better path or the easier path is just to go out and get a European agent or to try and connect with somebody that way who can advocate for you. Because at the end of the day, if your goal is to play pro somewhere, it's really hard to find a contract on your own or to get seen by a team. Like, you need good representation. That should be the goal.
Yeah, but this question can be thought of as like going to NCAA with the thought of getting representation from NCAA play.
Yeah. It never hurts to be in more than one place in terms of being seen.
This is an interesting question to me.
I don't think playing in the NCAA is a surefire way to get where you want to go.
But you do see, I feel like you see a lot of Asian athletes from like some of those smaller countries go play in Japan. Like sometimes I see a Japanese roster and they have players that I'm like, oh, and it's clearly from playing in ABC tournaments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like if you're able to make the jump even to a higher level Asian league and then use that as a springboard.
Yeah.
Like that could be an opportunity too.
Completely agree with that. I think there's lots of different ways to get noticed and seen. I'm not saying NCAA is not a great way, but I'm not sure that would be my first thought. Thanks to everybody who submitted questions. We had a ton to go through this week. It was so hard to pick only 10, but we appreciate everybody who's paying attention and curious about the sport. So looking forward, obviously this week is VNL Final 8. They'll all be good games. There's not that many of them to watch, so maybe you can watch most of them. Quarterfinals start on Thursday, and semis and finals will be Saturday and Sunday.
And as a reminder, and we're choked about this, we are out of town for a prior engagement this weekend. So we are not going to be able to release a podcast episode next week. So what we're going to do, we're going to catch up on women's final 8 as soon as we can. And we will release a big episode covering the men's and the women's final 8 at the same time in 2 weeks. So we're sorry about that. We are also not super thrilled with that, but that is the way life goes. So we'll catch you back in 2 weeks. That concludes this week's episode of Volley Talk. There's always something shaking in the volleyball world, and we hope you enjoyed this little fix. You be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any updates, and we'd be so grateful if you would leave us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Instagram at volleytalk_podcast. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, you can reach out on Instagram or at info@sarahpavin.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.